afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Conversations in the Den. Today, our guest is Susan Girard. Cindy Girard. And this is, of course, my co host, Jennifer Wolfenden.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Cindy, welcome. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
Of
and
course.
you've had an interesting journey these last few decades of your life. I think one of the most inspiring things to me about you is that alongside of all of, life's ups and downs and tragedies and sickness and disease and COVID and everything else, I think one of the most inspiring things is that you still remain positive, but you have a business that you run with a partner. You have, children that you've homeschooled or put through university or college. All of these wonderful things are happening, but I want you to tell us your story. So why don't you tell us your story?
Okay. It's a long one. I'll try to condense it, but I have actually struggled with depression since I was about 11 when my parents divorced.
Oh, okay.
By 14, I was already suicidal, trying to kill myself. Um,
Wow.
my
You had no counseling or anything to
Not
assist you?
until after so when I was 14, I did try to kill myself, and I don't know if it was reverse psychology or whatever, but my dad and stepmom are just like, oh, well, go ahead. We're not going to stop you, which did not help at all. At that point, they did get me in to see a psychiatrist, but the psychiatrist was only interested in my dreams.
Oh,
And
wow.
my waking hours were a nightmare, and I didn't remember anything about my dreams, so I thought the person was absolutely useless.
Mm-hmm.
The next person that I got help from was a counselor, and his strategy was to pretend he was my dad and try to get me to swear at him and just get all the anger out. But if you don't have a resource to deal with the anger, getting it out is not enough. So that wasn't very helpful. Um,
Yeah, you have to actually find the correct counselor.
yeah, and it was a long time before I did. So I
Mm-hmm.
high school was okay. University, first year university is when I started getting sick. Um, I had moved from
Okay, when you say
uh,
sick, what do you mean? What do you mean?
so in first year university, I had moved from Southern California to Kingston, Ontario, and did not have
Wow.
any. Um,
I don't know if I would have done that move.
well, so I was born in Canada, moved to the
Oh, okay.
States when I was 2, and we moved every couple years of my life. So I had no hometown. I had no identity. I had there was just so much going on in my life that I was clinging to the fact that I'm Canadian and I'm going to go back.
Okay.
So I went back for university.
Hey, can I ask a quick question here? Um,
Absolutely.
what is going through your mind? You want to kill yourself. You're suffering with depression. You're being moved. These are changes that you have no control over. Parents make these decisions. You're being moved every couple of years. How can you really say how that feels like? I'm just thinking, life is out of control.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it felt like. I mean, life was out of control. So I probably would have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum back then if it was a diagnosis. Like,
Okay.
I had trouble making friends. So when you move every couple years and you already have that challenge,
Yes.
you already don't understand social clues, you already don't understand nonverbal communication. Um, it was more than I could deal with, and
Yes.
I was really clued out. So
So
like
there's
when my
nobody, there was
parents,
no teacher, nobody you could talk to,
no,
you
well, I
know,
mean, you move every couple
family
years
member.
and you don't build the relationships.
Yeah.
Plus I was smart, so I did well at school. It was basically the only way I was getting decent attention. So the outward clues weren't obvious. My mom was going through a lot of stuff on her, she was dealing with depression. She was dealing with a lot of stuff. My dad was just not present. So I'm not blaming anyone. It was just, things, a perfect storm to create a rough childhood. So,
Yeah.
but
I just want to say, Cindy, can I just say I'm really sorry because I somewhere inside of me just now I went back to my 11 and 14-year-old self, and that's a lot. And I'm sorry that that has happened, because that's a lot for that age. I mean, that's the age where you really you don't even know who you are. You don't even know what day it is really, you know? So I'm sorry that that has happened, because that must have been like a real, not only trauma, but heartbreaking.
Did you have any hobbies or things that you did externally outside of school?
well, I was very, very involved in Girl Scouting, and I loved photography. But by grade 8, I had stopped going to school and was literally just hiding in my room. And in terms of, like, there are so many people, especially young people today, that what I went through is their norm. You know, when I was a kid and my parents divorced, I was the only kid I knew that had divorced parents. Now it's the other way around. A kid that has both parents at home is the unusual child.
True.
And
Yes, that's right.
I didn't endure any physical or sexual abuse, which in my research for I have a book coming out on depression early in 2021. And my research
What is it called,
indicated,
Cindy?
the book is called The Great Escape: Helping Someone Break Free from the Deep, Dark Dungeon of Depression. And that's coming
wonderful.
out. Yeah, it's coming out early next year.
And we're going to put that in our chat so our viewers can see that.
So
we'll get that information from you and put that in the comments. Alicia will do that so that our
awesome.
viewers can know where to find the book when it comes out. Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry.
Research indicates that one out of 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys is actually sexually abused, like physically sexually abused.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I appreciate that you have sympathy for what I went through. I strongly believe that God wants us to use our hard times to help others. So that's part of how I deal with it. And that's where the book is coming from. And that's where I don't want to focus on, oh, poor me, when I realize there are so many people that are hurting so badly. And I want them to know that there's hope. That yes, we need to validate their experiences and yet also help them not to stay there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you came back to Canada.
I came back to Canada and immediately started getting bronchitis. And in second year university, there was one round of bronchitis where they just couldn't beat it. And they gave me 3 different rounds of antibiotics. And it turns out the third one was most likely Cipro, which is a very, very commonly prescribed antibiotic now. It's right when it came out back then. And that's when all my health issues started. That summer, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, which back then was a brand new diagnosis. then a
So
year later, I was
do you
dealing
think
with
that
chronic.
I'm sorry. Do you think that all of this started with the inflammation in your body started from all of the stuff you were going through?
No, I believe a lot of, well, I already seem to have a weak immune system, but Cipro is of a class of antibiotics that were failed chemotherapy drugs. And Health Canada and the FDA and the European Medicines Association have all acknowledged that they can cause head to toe disability. Sometimes it's quickly, as in the case of my brother, which is what alerted me to what might be going on. But sometimes it's slowly, and it destroys your mitochondria, it destroys your connective tissue. And anyways, so I've had health issues ever since I was 19.
Cindy, can I ask you, you said earlier, you said Health Canada has classed Cipro with, is it cancer drugs you mentioned? Say that again to me, because I think I missed what you said.
Sure. So Cipro is in a class of antibiotics called fluoroquinolones.
Okay.
And they were originally designed as an anti-cancer treatment.
Okay.
And they didn't really work for it. But they realized they kill bacteria. They kill it really, really, really well.
Okay, so you took that Cipro because of your bowel syndrome.
No, because of bronchitis.
Oh, because
and it is the most, it and a whole bunch of other antibiotics are the likely cause of the irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, early onset arthritis, and a whole slew of other health issues.
Good Lord.
Yes, we had a girl on who spoke to us about, Rebecca Toad, who spoke to us about fibromyalgia, and who spoke to us about irritable bowel celiac disease, I believe it was, that she had. So they all kind of came together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was the beginning of all of your health, the downward spiral of your health.
Yeah, of my physical health. Yeah, which of course impacts your mental health.
Of course.
So yeah, by well, just one new thing came. I had chronic fatigue. So by the time I graduated from university, I'd majored in chemistry and then went on to teachers college. But I was still sick all the time. Like I was constantly dealing with respiratory infections and chronic fatigue. Probably I was dealing with the respiratory infections because I was trying to do a very heavy course load when I was constantly exhausted.
Yeah.
And my body just didn't have the resources to do everything.
Yes, what tends to happen, from what I understand, is that your body develops different inflammations from all the stress and all the stuff going on with you, and you don't realize what it is, but it becomes it kind of it becomes different. It affects different areas of your body.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with inflammation, in the research for my book on depression, it is a huge factor in depression, as well as many other health issues. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So tell me this, you are pushing through college, you are pushing through becoming a teacher with, I mean, your body is breaking down. You're under stress. You're suffering. What makes you push through? What gives you that motivation to go, you know what, I'm going to get up one more day and go and go to school?
I really liked university. I like learning.
I do too. Yeah.
It was a lot of people that like university like the social. That wasn't me.
Yeah, you like the education.
But yeah, I was absolutely there for the education. I loved the courses I was taking for the most part.
Yeah.
And actually, at 19, so in the summer between first and second year, I actually became a Christ follower, and that made a huge difference. It gave me purpose in my life. It gave me strength and encouragement, and it also gave me a support network. And the pastor's wife was a lifesaver for me, because there was an awful lot of other things going on. My dad had disowned me and was,
What a blessing.
well, it wasn't, because every month he disowned me because I had signed the papers suing him for back child support. So when he had to,
No, I said what a blessing. So sorry, Cindy. I said what a blessing that you had the pastor's wife.
yes.
That was amazing to you.
Yeah. So she
Now,
was
why
just.
did you have to sign papers for child support and not your mother?
Oh, she initiated it, but I was totally on board. Like, yeah, this guy owes us money. I mean, we lived for many years,
Yes.
barely able to meet the bills, on food stamps
Unfortunate that she
and
brought you into that situation. You didn't need to be involved in that. That should have been an actual situation.
yeah.
But regardless of why she brought you in,
I don't even remember.
he couldn't. He, for whatever reason, felt it was easier to attack you than to fight with her.
He probably fought with her too, but yeah, he definitely fought with me. And so every month he sent me a nasty letter with the child support check. And it was wonderful having the pastor's wife, there helping me deal with those letters, and someone to cry on their shoulder.
Does your dad have any mental challenges?
Pardon?
Does your father have any mental challenges that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
I mean, his dad died when he was a teenager, and so he didn't know how to be a dad.
He was just angry and hurt, maybe.
Yeah.
Broken.
We actually have a relationship now. I wouldn't call it. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a super close relationship, but absolutely have a positive relationship. So
yeah, but you've obviously put a lot of work into it, Cindy.
Yeah, and guided by the pastor's wife. I would send a letter back that was not hateful, excuse me, and just really trying.
It's really amazing what God will do.
Yes.
People that God puts in your life when you are going through things, and you may not even be aware.
Yeah.
They're there for that reason, but somehow that's why they're there.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm glad that she was able to be there for you to help you rebuild your relationship with your father.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
And I'm absolutely convinced if I had not come to Christ when I did, I would not be here today, because I would not have had the tools and the support and everything I needed to cope with that situation with my dad. And I would have just ended it. So,
well, praise the Lord for that, eh?
Yes.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Tell me, I'm curious, what do you think the way you handled returning the letters, the response to the letters, do you think that's part of what paved the way for a cordial relationship with him today? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Because
and now tell me, how did you handle it,
how
though?
did that affect your health?
Pardon?
Without being very specific, in saying things that, that probably shouldn't be said. How did you handle those letters? Like, did you write back? How did you handle it? Because I know that there's people out there that are looking at the same situation, and a lot of people just don't know what to do.
So there's a couple versions of the Lord's Prayer in the Gospels, and one of them continues on, forgive us our debts as we forgive those who or I guess forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And it goes on to say, if you forgive other people's if you forgive other people their sins, then God will forgive your sins. And if you do not forgive other people their sins, then God will not forgive your sins.
Mhm.
Well, remember,
So as a very
God
young
also says
Christian,
that the Bible also says that you have to forgive 70 times 7.
yeah. So anyways, I was a brand new Christian coming out of a pagan like culture. I did not know anything about Christianity. So I
Okay.
was just starting to really read the Bible and came across that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. And so there's two things I did. One, the pastor's wife taught me to write letters to Jesus, modeled
Mm.
after the Psalms, where you get all the hurtful feelings out,
Yeah.
and then transition to praise and thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of the most powerful tools that I've ever had in my arsenal.
Wow.
What about forgiveness? Did she teach you about forgiveness?
The Bible
Not
itself
just
taught me
forgiving your
about
dad,
forgiveness.
forgiving yourself as
So,
well.
that scripture is what taught me I need to write letters back to him that are filled with love and forgiveness and grace. Whereas
Wow. That's a hard one.
my natural response would have either been to burn his letters and never talk to him again,
Mhm.
or respond with really, really nasty stuff. But God's like, no, that's not what you do.
Yeah, that's not what we want you to do.
And so it actually took about 4 years for him to, like, when the child support stopped when I was done university, and I continued those letters. That's
Really?
when things changed, because he just believed I was trying to, butter him up to, feel better about having to give me the money.
That is very powerful, Cindy. You continued writing letters of love and respect to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, God bless you for that.
Girl, you are definitely an example of what we all need to be. Thank you for sharing that. So please go on. So you write back. The letters continue on. You finish university.
Yep. Then I end up falling in love. And right at the same time, I'd already made a decision to move back to the US, actually in with my dad, because the doctor had said the only way he could see me breaking the cycle of the respiratory infections was to move to a dry climate. So I moved to Colorado, but I arrived there saying, I'm only here for a short time because I found the man I want to marry. And so I was there for 4 months and came back and was now in Hamilton, and I got married in the summer of 91.
And Cindy, all this time you're still battling fatigue. You're battling the breaking down of your body, bronchitis, fibromyalgia. What else are you battling? Depression. What else are you battling? And you're entering into marriage now. You finished university. You've battled through all of that. Alongside of that, you finished university. You've set the stage for a relationship with your dad, and now you're entering into marriage. What are you suffering with at this point in time?
So at that point in time, I didn't have the fibromyalgia. It was just chronic fatigue at that point. Back pain. So I was seeing a chiropractor regularly. The 4 months in Colorado with my dad did break the cycle of the respiratory infections for a year or so, maybe a year or two. But being in love really helps the depression.
I find, yeah, I heard so.
But actually, I mean, it was still very much a reality in my life because so I'm not married anymore, but my ex-husband Wayne, they were suggesting that he probably shouldn't marry me because of my depression. And his response was, how can I help her if I'm not with her? And so he actually has a real gift for helping people with depression, and my son right now is dealing with it. And his dad is actually better equipped to help him. He just has a gift there.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Yeah. So we got married, and I was working as a teacher. When I had my first son in 1994, here's one more of the health issues sort of began or became evident. I tore so badly, I was hospitalized for 3 days. I'd lost a lot of blood, and both my uterus and my bladder prolapsed. That means they fell.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't know that.
Wow.
Was your child, and did you have a son or a daughter?
I had a son, and he was really tiny, and I'm not tiny. I'm quite big. I'm 5'10" and a half, big boned. And the baby was under 7 pounds. So he wasn't breached. There was absolutely no normal explanation for all that damage.
Is it because maybe the birth canal was just really tiny? Is that possible?
No,
Okay.
it's because Cipro damages all your connective tissue, and it's connective tissue that's part of the birth canal.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah, and connective tissue that holds the uterus and the bladder in place. So, but I didn't know all this then. I didn't know it until probably 5-6 years ago. Anyways.
Well, let's be real, Cindy. The doctors didn't know either.
No.
Not forgetting that these doctors are not aware, just as we're not aware, they're not aware either. These are new things that they're not really necessarily taught in medical school.
Oh yeah.
As they go along.
Yeah. So then I had my second son, and 2 years later, and it was actually after that there was an issue. And that's when I found out.
Wow, you went back and had another one.
Yeah.
Well, we are suckers for punishment, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I didn't tell you the pregnancies were awful, and I contemplated not having another one, and people are like, "Oh, the second one's always so much easier, and it's different." And it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah. As someone who's had 2 children, I will tell you that is a lie from hell.
Yes.
So Cindy, you had the same problem with your second son, prolapse again, and you didn't find out this time.
So because I had the prolapse, I didn't know I had it. There were, I don't know if you have men listening or not, or if it's mainly women, but
you can say whatever's on your heart to say, honey.
I knew there was something going on because when my period came back, I couldn't use tampons anymore. They would just come right back out. But I didn't know what it was. Well, that actually was a blessing for when I had my second child, because the uterus was already right there. There was basically no birth canal. So he was a spontaneous delivery at home.
Oh, wow.
I didn't go through all the labor pains and stuff. I had, it was very, very quick.
Wow.
But there was an issue.
I'm assuming you were like in your bed or something, like you were standing in the middle of the kitchen, and he didn't.
Yeah, I was. So I had a midwife, but I was supposed to have a hospital delivery because I was on medications, and they were concerned. But we did not make it to the hospital.
Wow. So what does that mean? You had him in an ambulance, in the car?
No, I had him in our spare bed.
Wow.
I'm eating cereal or something, and I'm like, I've got to go to the bathroom, and the assistant midwife is like, okay, well, the midwife is in the washroom, cleaning equipment and stuff, I'll take you there in a minute. And then it's like, I really got to go. it wasn't that I had to go. There's the baby.
The baby was coming.
Mm.
Wow. So
Um,
Cindy, tell me this. So you've had, at this point in time, you're married, you have two boys, you're raising two boys, you're still struggling with things, but you're getting through life, you're making your mark in life. Tell me about that.
so I was working. So actually, by this point, we're now living in Ottawa, and I was teaching at a adult high school, which I absolutely loved it. And actually, 6 weeks prior to delivering my second son, I got sick. I was hospitalized for a few days. They didn't know what it was, but my energy didn't come back. What energy I'd had did not come back. And that was the beginning of extreme chronic fatigue. And I actually went back to work when he was only 6 weeks old in order to keep my job. And
Now, how long ago was this?
so he just turned 24 in October. So quite a while ago.
That was before the 1 year,
Yeah. Yeah.
maternity leave.
I think I could have gotten 6 months or something, but it was more of, I didn't really have a contract, and it was like, please, like, let me come back. I need to have the job security.
Yeah.
So, but that's when the health issues got significantly worse. And so the chronic fatigue was horrific. That I started seeing doctors about it. And so back then, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia were still new, weren't understood well. And the doctor I saw said, well, you don't have chronic fatigue syndrome because you don't have pain. And I'm like, what does pain have to do with it? I'm exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And
they still do not have a diagnosis for fibromyalgia.
no, it's a, like irritable bowel
No,
syndrome.
no.
It's a diagnosis of the symptoms. It's not,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So now you're teaching, and you've had two boys. You're getting sicker.
Yeah.
You're rearing two boys, you have a marriage and two boys, you're getting sicker. Now you can't go back after your second son. Is that right? You can't go back to teaching after your second son.
No, I went back when he was 6 weeks old.
Okay.
And
but you're still very sick.
But I'm still quite sick. And then so I was only working like 3/4 time. Well, actually, when I first went back, I'm not sure what it was, but within a year or two, it was like 3/4 time.
Yeah.
But still, I was sick a lot. I was, getting pneumonia and bronchitis and sinusitis and just, constantly on antibiotics. And then in 2001, I had the surgery to fix the uterus, and then, the two prolapses. 2 years later, I had surgery to fix another issue in the same area.
Yeah.
I went back to work after 8 weeks, and I just was not well enough to be back at work. But also by this point, my boys were exhibiting a lot of behavioral issues. So my oldest was 8, and he'd been having issues for about 3 years. And when I went back to work,
when you mentioned the behavioral issues, what do you mean?
I'll explain it.
Okay.
He was well, by the time he was 6, we couldn't leave him with a babysitter because he would just scream for 45 minutes straight.
Wow.
He had issues at school, constantly in trouble. We thought he was lying all the time. I now know it wasn't lying. He's just, his reality is just different. It took a long time, but both boys have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum, as well as other issues. But at this point in time,
both your boys are autistic. Did you just say?
Yeah.
Okay.
High functioning, that's why it takes longer to diagnose the children that can walk and talk and you
When
know,
did when did the boys have their were they able to be, was that difficult getting them diagnosed? At what age were they diagnosed
they were
at?
diagnosed at 11 and 9.
Okay.
Um,
Was that hard to get them diagnosed?
it took a long time. It was difficult to find a doctor that was knowledgeable and that wasn't going to cost me a fortune, because by this time I was on my own.
Mhm.
But back to trying to go back to work. He's in grade 3. The school calls me every single day. He's too aggressive to be here. So he would,
Mhm.
actually, I'll just leave it there.
Mhm.
And my doctor was like, knowing that working is good for depression, she's like, well, let Cindy work half-time. And the school board's like, no, she's either well enough to work full-time or she's too sick to work at all. So they're fighting that while I'm getting called every day to come get my son. I just like threw up my hands and said, forget it. I'm going to just, quit.
Yeah.
But by this time, my marriage was suffering because
Oh God.
I didn't have, my priorities were wrong, in all honesty. I should,
Well, you had so many things to focus on. I mean,
yeah.
you know,
Um,
they need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
so I didn't have the energy to work and
Mhm.
take care of a home and take care of 2 kids and meet my husband's needs.
Yeah,
And
that's understandable.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if I'd realized things sooner, things might have been different. But what they are what they are. I was not meeting my husband's needs, and that is a problem.
Now,
And
were you guys having conversations about this?
um, some, yeah, but he went back to past behaviors and decided to meet his needs in those ways. And
Okay.
um,
And that was the end of the marriage, is that right?
well, we kept trying to work things out for a while, but it came to a head that's like, I can't.
Okay, now when you say past behaviors, are you talking about external things?
I figure so past behaviors of whatever he was into, and I think you don't want to talk about that. But tell me about this.
Yeah.
So you're divorced now. You've it didn't work. You're divorced. I really want to get some time in on Girard Foods, because
Yeah.
Girard Foods, because that the stuff you make is amazing. So if you wouldn't mind, we're getting close to
Yeah.
finishing. Would you whiz me
Yeah.
up to Girard Foods? Would you whiz me there, will you, darling?
I can. Okay, so I've lost the job, but have always been trying to work. And
They're teaching.
yeah, so my brother had moved in with me 10 and a half years ago, and due to health issues. He used to be a high-end chef in Colorado ski country, very, very, very skilled with cooking. Addressing my own health issues and the boys, I had got medical advice. I have multiple chemical and food sensitivities, so I went off of all of the normal foods and learned how to cook that way. And so we decided to put, actually it was I was up all night with all these ideas of putting our skills together. And so we launched Genuine Girard Foods, and we make foods, gourmet foods for people that are on restricted diets. So a lot of gluten-free stuff, dairy-free stuff, vegan stuff, diabetic friendly. Our starting point is nothing artificial. So the first thing you realize, if you go off of gluten, say, and you go to the store to buy something that has gluten or that's gluten-free, you'll find it's got all sorts of artificial ingredients and extra sugar and all sorts of just garbage. It's actually far worse for you than the gluten in most cases.
I think one of the things that's really good about Genuine Girard Foods is that people don't know how damaging corn is and corn oil, but Genuine Girard Foods does not have any of that stuff.
Right, because I'm sensitive to corn. I don't put corn in anything, but there's an awful lot of the people that are sensitive to gluten or
Yes.
wheat are actually also sensitive to corn, and corn is in everything.
And so that's where I come in, because I order from your company and my body loves your food. It's non-GMO. There's no corn, there's no corn oil, there's no additives. It's all organic, and my body completely loves your food. So thank you so much for being there. And yes, you have to order it, but if your body is like mine, that doesn't respond to all kinds of other foods, and really starts, my body was breaking down until I found your company, and I thought, this is amazing. So that's why I want to talk about your company, and I want people to know that, you can eat well out there. Can you give us just a sound bite on all the things, of the categories of food that you make that people can order online and have it shipped to them within a few days?
Okay. We have a wide range of sugar-free or very low sugar jams and sauces. Most of the fruit has been grown on our own property. So raspberries, strawberries, sour cherries, pears, apples, in a wide variety of combinations. We
Yeah,
tend to use.
Can you give me the website, because my niece, I mean, there's hardly anything she can eat.
Okay, so this website is genuinegirard.ca.
Okay.
And Girard is Girard. So
And Cindy, one of the things I do with the jams from Genuine Girard Foods is I can have goat yogurt,
yep.
and I think I've ordered like 7 or 8 different kinds of jams from you, and I just use that on top of my my yogurt, and it's amazing. That's my bit of sweet. So so that is my body loves that. You do an alternative coffee brew that is just it has no coffee in it, no caffeine in it, but it's just amazing. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's your own brand. It's your own mix. It's your own original idea. But it's all your own original idea. So thank you for just telling us about that. Is there anything else we should talk about Genuine Girard Foods?
So we have a lot of hot sauces, going back to my brother's time in Colorado. He's learned from Mexican chefs. So if it's not authentic, it can be authentic, very similar to authentic, as well as other things that are just absolutely totally creative.
Yeah.
We do a lot of soup, stews, and chilies, but you can't mail those out. So that's not something that they're going to have. Another one is
salsas. You do salsas as well.
Pardon?
You do salsas as well.
Yeah, hot sauces and salsas, and chutney and relish, and also a topping that we call human birdseed, which is great on yogurt, or ice cream or salads instead of croutons. And so that's a blend of nuts and seeds. Well, seeds, some have nuts, some don't. Other goodies, so like there's cranberry currant, there's hemp and dried grape, there's chocolate chip and pecan, and gone nutty, and pina colada. So and again,
I want to talk about the bites, the energy bites, because there's a lot because I'm gluten free, and a lot of this, the bars out there and the energy bars, they have a lot of stuff in it that I can't have, or that just affects me adversely. And so we people, we want something to munch on as a snack, but there's a lot of stuff I can't munch on, even the gluten free and the wheat free and the dairy free stuff in the store I can't munch on, but the stuff you make is amazing.
So it's the chocolate. Actually, we have one that's made from carob and chicory instead of chocolate, but they're low glycemic, so they're diabetic friendly. They're gluten free, dairy free, vegan, and we have 3 different varieties of that. But it's energy chocolate. It's got added fiber and protein and stuff. So
when you started working on this business with your brother, how was your health improved since then?
My mental health has improved a ton. My physical health has deteriorated significantly for multiple reasons. The arthritis is getting worse, but and the fibromyalgia has really, it's only been in the past 5 or 6 years that I actually say I have fibromyalgia. And then I injured both my wrists 5 years ago, and that required surgery on one of the wrists. It was a year until I had the surgery, a year and a half until I recovered from the surgery. And then I was sick with another issue for a year and a half, and now it's been a year and a half with a concussion. So the business has actually been fairly in slow motion.
Sorry, you trying to skip past the concussion.
Pardon?
Yeah.
I said you just skipped past the concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you have a concussion?
Cindy, let me ask you something. We're out of time. We've been out of time for a bit now, but
Oh, sorry.
I really no. I needed to hear your story. I wanted to hear your story. But what would you say to someone that's just had all of these health and mental and physical challenges? A mom, I mean, I admire you because you knew you had all of these challenges. You went into a marriage. You loved it. It was wonderful. You had two wonderful boys. You've started a business that's still running that makes amazing products. You went to university. You did all of this alongside of so much mental and physical challenges. What would you say to someone like you today that is just thinking of throwing the towel in? What advice would you give them?
You have to have a purpose. And that's one of the things I'm seeing in my son, who is not doing well, is he does not have a purpose. He couldn't continue with university because he could not handle the online variety this year. And you've got to have a purpose. Volunteering, helping, a job. You've got to work on gratitude. Every day, write down 3 things that you're grateful for.
Yes.
But ultimately, a walk with God and understanding that God is in control and God has a plan for your life. And I'm not talking about this prosperity gospel, health and wealth. I'm talking about He wants your life to have meaning and purpose. And
you're speaking my language, Cindy.
yeah, so
every one of us was put here for a purpose.
yes,
Every one of us, and it's to be of service.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If one of us has a service that we're here to provide, and until we find that, everything that happens to us, we will hold it in and not even take the time. Going through this COVID after having gone through a stroke, it's kind of really given me a real opening mindset to try to see and find my purpose. I mean, I love working, but now that I'm not able to work, it's wonderful to be able to find things that I'm passionate about that will assist others.
Yeah. And I mean, this podcast is one of the things that you're doing that can help others. And
Yes.
Well, Cindy, I am looking forward to your book. I am looking forward to ordering from Girard's Fine Foods for the rest of my life. I am looking forward to meeting you soon and seeing you soon. And thank you for being with us. Is there any last words you want to leave with our viewers, just based on all the things that you've shared with us? Thank you for being vulnerable with us. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for having me on and for promoting my business and stuff. I guess the only other thing is that if you go to greatescapefromdepression.com, you can sign up to receive a free downloadable copy of the entire book, and it's very well researched. And I have a
how many pages is the book?
Downloading
is
250, I think, somewhere around there. I can't remember. So
and we're going to put all of this in our comments so that our viewers can access that as well.
Yeah. So they can sign up and get it for free, because I believe that this is important information. Now, obviously, you can't get it until it comes out, but you can sign up for it and get updates.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen,
Well,
thanks for
I'm
being with
really
us. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please,
safe.
yes,
All the things that have happened to you have happened for a reason. They've brought you to the place you are at today.
Yeah.
And I thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, listen, take care and see you
Okay.
again another time.
Yeah. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays, everybody.
Okay.